Masechet Avodah Zarah Daf Mem Bet Amud Aleph, 44 lines down. The last thing we mentioned was the back and forth between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish had said that if something breaks by itself, Avodah Zarah breaks by itself, it's mutar, and Rabbi Yochanan has been pounding him with questions. Now we're going to have one last one before Reish Lakish goes on offense. Rabbi Yossi Meir said, Etvei is a question from a Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi holds, Af lo yirakot b'mena geshamim. You cannot plant vegetables under an Asherah tree during the winter. Mipinei, why? Sha'neveya and Asherah alehem, because the leaves and stuff will fall onto the vegetables and that will fertilize it. Why is that asur? According to Resh Lakish, to have a ka'abu l'chavim shenesh v'tabra me'elaha. If the Asherah tree is dropping by itself, leaves, then it should be considered part of like an Avodah Zarah that's breaking by itself. And Resh Lakish said it's okay. Mutar. Gemara says no. Shani Hatam, there's a difference. The Ikara was Chum Piana because the Avodah Zarah there, the main thing is still standing. The tree's still standing there. Not like the whole Avodah Zarah fell down. Gemara says, wait, 1 second. But we had a different case of the regarding the branches of the chips of pieces of wood of an Asherah tree. The Ikar Avodah Zarah, in that case, also the tree itself was standing. The Iktani we said earlier. What we say later, that if you cut it, the tree for your own need, for to help the tree, then it's asur. But for the tree, the pieces itself are mutar. We see that it can be mutar even if the main part of the tree is still standing. Where it says no, it's different. The reason why it's asur when the leaves are falling down is different. Everybody would agree in this case it's asur because the leaves falling down is for the betterment and for the natural course of life of this tree, and therefore it is asur. It's not like you took an axe and cut it off. Now, Rish Lakish, after being attacked left and right by Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish goes on some offense. עצב רבי שמעון בן לקיש לרבי יוחנן כן שבראש האילן של התש לא נהנים ולא מועלים בראשה של האשרה יתיז בקנה. So Shimon Lakish says, we have a Mishnah that says that if there's a nest on top of a tree that's owned by the Bet HaMikdash, now you can't touch that. You can't use things by the Bet HaMikdash. However, it says if you can't benefit from that nest, but if you take it, seemingly, you're not chayav me'ila, which means you're not considered stealing from hekdesh. So seemingly you're allowed to use it. Yatiz bekane okay, fine. So now, next case, berosha shel ashira, in the case of a nest on top of an ashira tree, avodah zarah tree. Yatiz bekane, you can knock it down with a stick and use the nest. Tomorrow it says sounds like where the bird had taken off twigs from the ashira tree itself to build its nest. We still see that you can knock down the nest to use it. So we seemingly allow pieces of the tree to be used. Proof according to Shakish. Question answer Yochanan, who would hold us to? Or says no, 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 no. It doesn't have to be a case where the bird built the nest from Asherah tree clippings. It could be he brought branches from elsewhere. Tomorrow says, okay, but take Nami and I can prove it to you. How? We see by Hekdesh. Lo nehanin v'lo mo'alin. You can't benefit, but you're not chayav for stealing from me'ilah. You're not chayav for considered using it. So how's that possible? Must be talking about a case where the bird brought twigs from elsewhere to make the nest, because otherwise, that's why the parallel case regarding hekdesh lo nehanin v'lo mo'alin. You can't benefit from it, but you're still not chayav for me'ilah. You're still not chayav for considered stealing b'tamikdash. Why? Lo nehenim d'Rabbanan. Chachamim don't want you to benefit because we don't want you to lead to touching the actual tree. But if you use it, it's not considered chayav me'ilah. It's not considered using stuff from Beit HaMikdash because midoraita because it is not from the actual tree. The halal kaddish because these twigs from that nest are not hekdesh. Allah, however, if you tell me the case where the twigs came from that tree itself from hekdesh, why would it not be considered stealing? Hal-Kaddishi should be Hekdesh. And therefore, from the time we see the not Eilah, it's a proof that this case is talking about as well by the Avodah Zarah case, where the nest was made from a tree from elsewhere. The Gemara says, make the area, whoa, 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 whoa. And that's not a good proof. You're trying to bring a proof from the case of Hekdesh. The case of Hekdesh is different because if the nest was made with branches that grew after the tree was hekdesh, it's allowed because Sabar the Tana holds and Me'ilin Begudulin, they don't consider Me'ilah, and Me'ilah Begudulin, there's no Me'ilah by things that grow afterwards. So if the tree is 6 feet tall, when I make it hekdesh, and then 3 months later, then now the tree is 6'2", I could use the top 2 inches, not considered Me'ilah because it grew afterward. That's the Talmud case, not a proof. Okay, so Rabbi Yochanan has to defend himself again. But Rabbi Abba Rabbi Yochanan, why Yatiz? What does it mean? Shmuel saying that you can knock it down. Yatiz be'efrachin doesn't mean you get to use the nest. It means you get to use the chicks or the eggs inside. However, I explained to you as follows. Be'efrachin regarding the chicks, if the chicks are inside the nest, kan v'kan muturin, everybody agrees you're mutar. But betzim, if it's eggs inside the nest, kan v'kan asurin, they're asur. Because the eggs are only surviving by the support of the tree via the nest. That's benefit through Hekdesh or Asherah. But even if it's a chick, the baby bird that needs their mother, I mean, they're too small to fly, for example, kibatzim damo, they're considered like eggs, and therefore it's also asur. No, Mishnah. Hamasi can find the items, vessels, etc. وعليهم صورة حماد, صورة البنات, صورة دراكون. And on it you see a figure of a sun, moon, or dragon. يوليهم the Yamamelech, you could assume they're Avodah Zarah, and you throw into the Yamamelech, that's it, because it will be disintegrated in the salt and people won't find it. Rashba Gomer, if these figures are drawn or engraved onto nice utensils, they're asur. But if they're on common, low-end utensils, they're mutar. Which one's which? Okay. The Gemara says, one second. Only these three figures, sun, moon, dragon, are worshipped. The mid but not anything else. But many of from the following Mishnah. If someone slaughters an animal for the mountains or for the hills. Lishum yamin slum naharot, for the oceans or for the rivers. Lishum midbar for a desert. Lishum hamma for the sun. Lishum v'nam moon. Lishum kochavim mazlot for the moon, the stars, or other types of planets. Lishum Michael Sarah Hagel, even for the angel Michael. Lishum shushugan for a tiny worm. Hare elos if himidim is considered Avodah Zarah korbanot, and the animal is asur for benefit. So we see that the people who worship Avodah Zarah worship these random things also. How come specifically sun, moon, dragon? The Gemara says in Marbella Miflah, yes, regarding worshiping, they'll worship anything they can find. Mesar, what would they engrave on something to be worshipped? Hani thought that the hashivi, these three things are the main items. They'll engrave it and worship it. The media but anything else, they'll make just for decoration. Okay. Then I could the would collect and you distribute difficult Mishnayot that I taught, Betani, and then explain them and teach them over. One of them was any picture or engraving of any of the planets and stuff are mutar except for sun and moon. And all pictures of faces are mutar except for a picture of a person's face. All right, if you go to India or China and these things and you're finding these items with faces on it, it's really a halakha question. Hut mitzrat drakon, and all figures are mutar except for the figure of a dragon. More says. Then we said earlier that now we're gonna go one by one. The planets and stuff are all mutar except for sun and moon. Nachman asking is the case. Ilan will say if making the pictures of the body of the actual sun and moon and stuff, it can never be mutar, even the other planets. You can't make pictures. Pasuk says, Lo ta'asun iti. Don't make it with me. Pasuk says, Hashem refers to ta'asun kitamot shemai shemashim v'fanai muram. Don't make images of my servants that serve with me in the Shemayim, including the planets. Elachita must be taken a case, but motzeh refers to finding the item. And therefore, if you find an item with the picture of the moon and sun or the other planets engraved on it, it's mutar. The Brita says, "Motzeikel you find utensils v'alehem surat hamad surat al on it, the sun or moon, surat the dracon or the dragon, elechem melech, you should throw it out." So seemingly, only if you find it, not talking about a case where you made it because everybody agrees that you are not making it. Okay. Now, even Motzab, some of the case of finding, Imma Metziata, then one second, the next part of the Brita seemingly doesn't fit. All pictures of faces are mutar, except for a person's face. Now, even when it says on a case of finding, parts of Adam is asur. If you want a picture of a person's face is a sur on an item on a vessel, but Tanam Mishnah says, "Hamotek if you find utensils aleihem tzurek hamad tzurek v'nat tzurek only if you find a dragon, moon, or a sun. Yelechem Melech, you put in the eye tzurek draconi only if they seemingly only has a picture of a dragon, it's a problem. Parts of Adam lo, but never a person was a sur. Pshita, but also maybe you must be talking about a case where this Mishnah must be talking about a case where you're creating it, and that's why it's a sore to make anything it's a mutar to make anything except for a human face, which is a sore. Because have Huna Brede of Shua, like the Huna Shua that says just like him that he holds that you're not to make a human face. So now the second part of the Baitas seemingly says that you can't make it. But we explain the first part of the Baitas talking about that you can't if it's one case if you find it. Gemara says, Ibo, I'll say 1 second now. If you're explaining the second case as making the items, in Masefa, the third case, Kol Hatzurot Mutarot, all figures are mutar, Hus Mitzvot Darakon, except for a dragon. Viva, I'll say the marquez is making, so Darakon Mi Asir, you're not, is making the dragon a sword? No, Vakti Tasuniti Elokekes Elokezahab, you can't make gods, but you can make. Hani in these things are not allowed to make, like planets and stuff. So Darakon Nibi allowed to make the dragon. So Elapshit Muslim is one case where you find the item like a dragon because you're worried about it being worshipped. But it's not as Mishpaita says, I'm not saying like you find you that says about him through the Haman, you find a sun, moon, dragon, it's a sword. So now the Gemara says, you're telling me that Beraita has 3 cases. The first case tomorrow where you're finding something, the last case is talking about finding something, the middle case of the people faces is talking about making it. That doesn't make sense. But we don't make Beraita Mishnayot with all different types of facets and variables. Gemara says, yeah, no problem. Very sure we'll say the first and last case of Bartas the case of finding the items with pictures. Saying the middle one is making. The Mother Rabban says, no, I'll do better. Kulab will say all 3 cases to finding. In the middle case of the face is according to the Yehuda. The Tanya Berdi says, Rabbi Mosif F Demut Menika Visar a piece. Rabbi says things you're not to make on like a ring, for example, even a picture of a nursing woman and Sar Apis, looks like that is. Menika, the reason why the nursing picture of a nursing woman that's Sur, Al Shem Hava, because maybe they're worshiping Hava, the Shem Menika Kulam Kula, because since she's the first mother, it's as if she's nursing the whole world. Sar Apis, why? Who's Sar Apis referring to? Al Shem Yosef refers to Yosef. Shesar Umafis Kulam Kula, because he was a prince, he was viceroy, and he calmed the entire world with his amazing way of dealing with the famine, with Paro. And that only applies, the picture of Sarapis, it's only on store when he's holding like a measure, because he was measuring out how much food to give everybody. And he's measuring. And also, in the picture of the nursing woman is only asur when she's holding a child. And she's nursing at the same time. That is when it's asur. Okay, now we mentioned dragon a few times. Is it true that a was considered a dragon? Any creature that has like fins by its back, like coming out of its back. And Biasi pointed from the top of his neck vertebrae to show what he meant. According to him in this halacha regarding the dragon that's only a sword but has fins. One time I was walking behind Rabbi Azar Hakafar Biribbi, right? It's a fancy word for a rabbi. Umasa Sham Tabat, we found a ring there. On the ring was a engravement of a dragon. Therefore, it was Asur. And then he found a goy walking by, and he said to him, but he didn't say anything to him. Then he found an adult goy, and he said, nullify it. But the guy didn't want to do it. The kafar hit him and forced him to nullify it. Or it says, don't read these way. First of all, we see that a non-Jewish goy can, well, non-Jewish goy, a non-Jew can nullify a item. Whether it's his or someone else's, like this ring did not belong to him. And also, we see that someone knows the nature of Avodah and the type of items that it is, can nullify it. He does not know what he doesn't, he can't do it. That's why he couldn't use the minor. He had to use the adult goy. Third thing to learn, you can force a goy to nullify an idol even if he doesn't want to do it. Now, Rabbi Hanina did not like this story. بلاتر Rabbi Lazar hakafar b'Rabbi hatatanabi. Rabbi Lazar did not hold the following Mishnah. Berta, hamatzil min ha'ari. Someone rescues something from a lion, umin adog from a bear, umin a from a leopard, umin gayasar from the army, umin nahar from a river, umin zitoshi yamor from the high tide, umin shoshotosh nara from a river that was flooding. And he keeps it for himself. V'hamaseh b'strata plata gdla. If someone finds something in a major public area or a public highway. Or anywhere, anytime where a lot of people are walking by. You can find it. Because people will give up on it. They'll have Yush. Right? This is a famous Mishnah in Masachet Baba Masiyah. So since people are going to have are going to despair in finding it. Therefore, you're able to keep it. So the Gemara says over here as well, if the guy lost it, he for sure had you. He for sure gave up on finding it. And therefore, that should be a nullification of batel by itself. Why'd you have to have a guy nullify it again? It's true, maybe he gave up on finding it. But he didn't give up and nullify the actual status of the Avodah Zarah. Imam because he said to himself, if a guy finds it, if another guy finds it, he's thinking to himself, then he'll worship it. If the Jew finds it, this is expensive. He'll sell it to the guy, and then the guy will worship it. And since that goy, the original owner, is holding on to this in his heart, that eventually it will lead to another goy worshiping it, he won't nullify the Avodah Zarah, and that's what it'd be. That's why Rabbi Elazar ben Akafar had to nullify it before keeping it. Amen. Amen.